the Radio Forest podcast.
Forrest, Bruce Campbell calling.
How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good. Hey, to start things off, I know your announcement said everything that I need to know. I get it. I understand. But I don't think I could do this without asking, how are you? How's your health? How's your family with the news?
Well, nobody wants news like that. So we're no different than any other family where you go, holy shit, what's happening today? What fun news are we going to get today? But we've worked through it. I'm entering the treatment zone, so there's nothing really to report other than the fact that I'm, turning the ocean liner around, and we're trying to get it to go in the other direction, and we're doing it. So I wouldn't miss a screening for the world, and it's a brand new movie that means a lot to me. So I'll be coming to Boise, even if I'm throwing up blood, as the old metaphor goes.
Your fans would love that, though. They'd be like, oh, this is perfect. That's the Bruce I want.
They would. They would pay extra if I showed up throwing up blood, but they will only be disappointed. No, I'm going to be there with bells on, and I can't wait.
So May 15th, Ernie and Emma, Egyptian Theater. You've been in Oregon for quite a while, so you're probably pretty familiar with the Treasure Valley, Boise, I'm sure the Egyptian Theater, right?
Well, I'm a fan of all of those ancient theaters. And the Egyptian is no different. I just screened our movie at the Hollywood Theater in Portland. And, they're 100 years old. And these are great, creaky theaters that have tons of history and stories. And sometimes the acoustics are actually really good because of the care that they took in making these. And I love supporting theaters like this because if you don't, they will tear these down. So many of these theaters have been destroyed over the years. So it's really fun to be part of this. And hey, I'm coming to my neighbor state. Idaho is a beautiful state, even though, they want part of our state to be, Eastern Oregon wants to be Greater Idaho. So I don't know, see how that works out. Southern part of my state wants to be part of the state of Jefferson.
The state of Jefferson?
Yeah. Northern California wants to be part of Southern Oregon want to merge and create the state of Jefferson, their own little fiefdom. I'm from Michigan. Upper Peninsula has wanted to succeed, has wanted to be separate as long as I've been alive. And I'm like, well, you're already part of Wisconsin. Why don't you go ahead?
So we've got Ernie and Emma, May 15th. You're coming into town for the film.
Live and in person. Any rumors of my demise are false. I will be there with bells on to introduce the movie, and then after the movie to have a spirited discussion with the audience about, death and pain. No, whatever they want to talk about. I can't wait. I'm very excited to get this to the world.
You definitely have some horror-inspired shots in this film. There's looking up at you in the shower. That's a horror shot. Looking at the pair on the hood of the car. Some of the slower speeds are definitely reminiscent of a horror film. There's the Bigfoot scene. You really...
That's your interpretation,
though. No, come on.
You're reading that into a blank slate.
No, you're way too smart. You know that.
You wanted to see that happen. But, I did give some Easter eggs to the fans. There is a strain of marijuana that he buys called Screaming Brain. It's an ode to a crappy movie I made years ago. There's a few other little winks in there, so we try not to ignore our crowd. But I have to apologize in advance. There's no blood in the movie. There's no chainsaws. There's no shotguns. There's no one-liners. It's a Disney movie with drugs, alcohol, swearing, and implied infidelity.
And I have some questions, specific scenes in the film. First of all, how do you time out the voiceover with your reactions? Is someone counting off screen? Are you memorizing, or do they add that later? How do you figure that out when Emma's reading?
I do appreciate that question because we do have to sort of take it into account. If you take longer than it would take for someone to read the letter when you film it, you're going to be fine because you can always condense it. You just want to make sure you stay long enough on your face or on the letter to make sure that letter could be read all the way through. And then we tried to make sure we got other shots included to spread. Once you have 2 or 3 shots available to create the scene, you can expand and contract very easily. We recorded a bunch of voiceover that did not make it into the finished movie because of, how we wanted to space it all out. But it's a very valid technical question, and it's a little tricky, but none of it's impossible. You just have a good editor.
So now the picture of Tommy, is that a younger picture of you?
It's a hybrid between my son, Andy, and my graphic designer when he was young. And so it's a morph.
Yeah, I like that. I was wondering, I'm like, that might be a young Bruce, but I wasn't 100% convinced, so that makes sense. The Volkswagen bus, you've quite a few movies you've been in have some pretty killer cars. So growing up, what were some of the cars that you owned that you look back fondly on?
I was a Detroit kid, so we loved big cars, big motors. There was an intersection about 5 miles from me as a kid where every Saturday night all the cars would come up and the hoods would go up. And everyone's just talking, looking at the cars and the hoods and the modifications. My brother would fix up 57 Chevys. So we always had a graveyard of 57 Chevys in our front yard. So those cars actually made a big reaction on me. They had the huge fins on the back. My brother and I would get on each fin at the bottom of the driveway, and Mom would drive us up the driveway hanging onto the back of the fin. That's how old I am.
In wardrobe, how many hats did you have? I noticed you had a ton of new hats on.
He's the guy who has a lot of promotional hats. He's got a Runway Motors hat. He did an ad for Runway Motors. He's got the Country Club hat. He's got the Pear Valley hat. He has a Laurel and Davies hat. That's the company that he was a Pear rep for. So, yeah, he had to have 4 hats at least. And it was fun to custom make those. I gave the Runway Motors hat to a buddy of mine here in Medford, Oregon. And it's a really groovy kind of bitchin' logo of just a jet and the Runway Motors. It looks kind of cool. And a guy had it in his basket when he was shopping, and he went to buy something else. He came back. Someone had stolen it. I took that as a great compliment, that they looked at it as not only as a cool hat, but they think Runway Motors is real. If some guy in the Rogue Valley is bombing around going, God, I don't see Runway Motors anywhere.
I can't find them online.
Yeah, I can't find. I Googled them. I don't know where the hell are they.
Their customer service sucks. These guys are horrible. I'm going to give you your hat back.
Yeah, well, another great observation of yours, sir.
How about cigars, though? How many cigars do you go through? Because, I've heard before when you're eating in a film, you don't actually eat or drink. Because if you do several takes, you're like, I'm getting sick over here.
Drinking stuff, eating stuff, smoking stuff, if you smoke cigarettes in a movie, that's going to be bad, because especially if you're sort of inhaling or fake inhaling, it's problematic. I probably went through, several dozen Tiparillos. Ernie's a guy who's still old enough that he would still smoke Tiparillos. And to me, it just cracks me up, because you go into a drugstore and you go, who buys these things? Like, who still smokes Tiparillos?
When you're in this film, you're dealing with loss and death and moving on. So there's a couple of scenes where you're, getting angry. There's some scenes where you're kind of scared. How do you act in this film, scared and angry, versus some of the other films that you've done? Because that's a different kind of acting. But me, not being an actor, you'd be like, act scared. I'd be like, well, how do you act scared of losing someone? Or how do you act angry because someone died before you?
It's a matter of one of them being more realistic than the other. If it's Evil Dead 2, and you're being attacked by your own hand, all bets are off. Any expression works, because you can't believe what's happening. So you almost can't overact. And in this case, I'm pushing my late 60s now, and we do experience death. We have experienced death. As a young actor, it was way harder for me to cry, because I didn't really have much heartache in my life. 40 years later, I have so many more references of people that have died, and I remember how I reacted when you found out loved ones have died. So it's easier to conjure up. It's just more realistic. You try and make it realistic. I tried to add a twist where at one point he yells at his wife, for he's pissed at her for going first, because she really did screw his life up. If he had gone first, she would not have missed a beat. I tell that to my wife all the time. I'm like, you are set. Oh, look, the bed's made. Funny guy who makes all those noises is gone. That's about it. Everything else, my wife runs the show. If she went, I'd have to get the Rolodex out and go, what was that plumber's number again?
Yeah. Or like you said in the movie, she could find a guy with a bigger dick.
Yeah, easy now. I know. Ernie just said it in the heat of passion. He didn't really mean it.
You've referenced Evil Dead a couple of times. You're so well tied to that movie forever. Some people that's who Bruce Campbell is.
Evil Dead guy. That's how I could so easily play the pear guy.
Is there an actor that you do that to? Is there an actor that you know they've done other roles? It's like Vincent Price or Christopher Lee. Are they stuck in your mind and then you meet him, you're like, oh man, it's hard to not think of this guy as Dracula or something like that?
Well, like Sean Connery. It took him a long time to get past Bond. You know, I'm impressed by that. You know, look, I go to horror conventions, so I've met every pigeonholed actor on the planet. Robert Englund plays Freddy. He's done Shakespeare, but he's Freddy. So it's pop culture. It's just what happens. It's what people get in their heads. I've done a lot of other stuff other than horror movies, but a horror fan will not necessarily watch Burn Notice for 7 seasons. It might not be their bag. And Burn Notice fans, a lot of them are like, horror movies? Nah. And, you know, I did a Western show, Briscoe, The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Well, those fans aren't watching Evil Dead. So it's kind of interesting. I've noticed how fans are very compartmentalized in what they watch. They won't watch me over every genre. They won't follow me everywhere. They'll stop where they want to stop.
But, you know, I did tell someone that your film was coming to the Egyptian Theater, and they're like, oh, that's the guy from Hercules and Xena. And I was like, that's the first.
Awesome.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Someone said the other day, this town is so small where I live here in Southern Oregon, it was some assistant was calling about something and said, oh, by the way, I met you at the Bunkum Days parade 25 years ago. And I go, how did that happen? She goes, I came up to you and I said you were in Hercules and Xena, and I laughed because it was a different kind of reference. And then she goes, and you were also the first guy killed in the movie Congo. Good one.
So when you've got Ernie and Emma and you're doing kind of an independent film like this, what are some of the things that you enjoy as opposed to being in the Marvel universe, which I can't even imagine how big of a scale of a production that is?
I was in the very first Spider-Man, and I remember I was walking around the back lot of where they were filming it. It could have been Universal or wherever they were filming it. And I asked this assistant director, I go, hey, what stage is Spider-Man? He goes, what stage? He goes, you mean stages? He said, we're in stages like 1 through 9. So what are you looking for, pal? Where's the wrestling rink? Oh, that's stage 4. It's a military operation. They're so big. Sam Raimi's a good buddy of mine, but I probably talked to him 3 times in 4 days because he just had his hands full of directing thousands of extras and organizing dozens of cameras. And it was a good thing that I knew him because we could speak in shorthand and not have to worry about it. But those movies are it takes a certain mindset to be able to do it. Sam Raimi has the attention span. I could never, as a guy who made Ernie and Emma, that's enough attention span for me.
Yeah.
I can't do these intense action sequences where you storyboard and the creature's going to be over here, so you need the tennis ball on a stick to do it over here. Very intricate stuff, and Sam flourishes at that. But me, I no can do. The nice thing about doing stuff independently, this movie with my wife Ida, was you shoot it where you want to shoot it, you shoot it how you want to shoot it. Your days are only as long as you want them to be, and the atmosphere on the set is exactly what you want it to be. So the funny thing is there's absolutely nothing, no negative side effects of making a movie independently other than the fact that you have to put up your own cash. Utter independence. And it's worth every penny.
So when you're fronting the money, you're writing it, you're producing, you're acting, you're doing all the things, again, comparing it to the Marvel Universe, how do you gauge success for a film like this? What does that look like?
Good news is at the box office, I only have to make thousands. My opening weekend has to be like, $10,000. I don't need to crack a $40 million opening. And so the expectations, all of that, like I'm going to tour with this movie until the wheels fall off. In September, I'm going to 20 cities for the Alamo Drafthouse theater chain to show the movie. And that's a pretty good tour, but I'm not stopping there. There's a lot of great old theaters like the Egyptian to show this movie at. So if I have to put my DCP, my digital cinema package, which is basically like a hard drive, if I have to put that in my station wagon and go to every theater, that's what I'm going to do because it'll still work. If your budget is low enough, you only have to do a certain amount. You don't have to have these huge hits to succeed. I just want to make enough to then be able to make another movie. So that's my wife's rule. We can do another one as long as the money comes back. But if it doesn't come back, we're retired.
So I read that you almost were in Jurassic Park, but lost to Jeff Goldblum. Is that true?
Not true. That's a weird one. I've never heard that one.
Are there any roles that you turned down or didn't have time to do or were passed on that you're like, oh man, that would have been killer?
There was an exterminator in the Men in Black movie that I couldn't do because I was doing a TV movie called Tornado. You miss some opportunities, but it's no big deal. I tried to become the Phantom, and it got down to me and Billy Zane. He won that prize, but the movie bombed. So you go, okay, thanks, universe. That worked out fine. I was one of 3 finalists for the X-Files when they rebooted it. Robert Patrick and Lou Diamond Phillips, and it was me sitting in a room, and we were auditioning for X-Files. Didn't get that. So, I think things work out how they should.
Now, I've also heard that while filming Jack of Trades, you kind of fell in love with New Zealand. Is that accurate? And tell me about what's so cool about New Zealand.
Well, but Jack of all trades was show number 3 for me. I had already done Hercules down there and Xena, Warrior Princess down there. Jack of all trades was the 3rd one, and then we finally did Ash versus Evil Dead in Auckland. You know what? It's a place to work where you are undisturbed by the rest of civilization. You work in Los Angeles, there's all these distractions, and the industry is ever present. You go to Auckland, New Zealand, man, you're thinking about the beautiful place it is, and you're just focused on the work. There's nothing else to distract you. The film crews there don't like long hours, so you don't have to have overload of work down there. The food is amazing. They kicked out all the nuclear. They've gone fully green in that respect, so they're not a target. They have a deep water port, so the billionaires love it. I don't know. There's something about it that's very exotic and nice, and the people are an incredible mix of pasty white people and Maori.
I'm in. You sold me.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. It's a very interesting place where they speak English, but a lot of their traditions and habits, and they're just a little bit different. It's a parallel universe, Auckland.
So now I know there's a couple of new Evil Dead projects on the way. I think one this year and maybe a couple of years from now.
Yeah. Evil Dead Burn is next.
And you're involved, right? Aren't you behind the scenes in some aspect?
I am behind the scenes, but I've the more these become studio projects, the less effect I can have on them. That's where I tend to leave it to the experts. I've never been good at dealing with studios because they give too many notes, and too many of the notes are bad notes, and I don't have the patience for it. I have 2 partners, Rob Tapper and Sam Raimi, who are great at it. And so they usually run the show with that. Sam picks these new directors, and they come in and usually do a pretty good job. So they don't really need me, especially if I'm not going to be in it. I don't need to torture these people, and I don't need to lecture the actors on how to do a horror movie. So it's fine. I'm kind of cheering from the sidelines.
Final question. When you're coming to Boise, May 15th, Egyptian Theater, is Pickles coming with you?
Pickles will not be with me. Pickles was our associate producer's dog. And I like the dog mainly because its tongue would hang out of its mouth when it ran. So otherwise, I would not own a dog like Pickles. I would own a different kind of mutt.
The slow motion shots are incredible.
Well, I thank you for your insightful questions about hats and other technical things.
Bruce, thank you so much. It's an honor to talk to you. Ernie and Emma, Egyptian Theater. You're going to be there. You'll be answering questions after the film and introducing it. It's May 15th in Boise. Thanks for the call today, Bruce.
Thank you. I'll see you for the sequel.